Who will win, Mysterio or Scarecrow? In the heart of Gotham City, where skyscrapers obscure the moonlight, a tense atmosphere hangs like a thick fog. Jonathan Crane, known as Scarecrow, moves silently through the dark alleys. He is a twisted psychologist who has turned fear into the ultimate weapon. With a straw scarecrow mask, he carries cylinders of toxic gas, ready to unleash nightmares on anyone who dares to confront him. Tonight, he receives a strange challenge from a mysterious entity from another world, a man calling himself Mysterio. The challenge echoes in his head, promising a confrontation that will test the limits of his intelligence and fear. Quentin Beck, aka Mysterio, is a Hollywood illusionist and special effects artist. His genius mind turns illusions into deadly reality. He hails from New York, where he once battled Spider-Man, a physical foe more powerful than any he'd ever encountered. Mysterio doesn't rely solely on hallucinogenic gas. He's a master of technology, creating robots that look exactly like humans, even replicating the powers of heroes like the X-Men. He's chosen Gotham as his battleground, where darkness will be the backdrop for his deceptions. Scarecrow stands on the roof of an abandoned building, the night wind blowing through his tattered cape. He senses his enemy's presence. "You think you can play with fear?" he whispers, clutching his gas tank. Mysterio, lurking in the shadows, smiles under his spherical visor. He's prepared, with invisible drones and hallucinogenic gas tuned to fool even the strongest minds. The chase begins as Mysterio activates the first device. A giant illusion of a monster appeared, charging towards Scarecrow. He did not flinch, spewing out fear gas, turning the illusion into a real nightmare. But Mysterio only laughed, knowing that this was just the beginning of a larger game. Scarecrow sprinted down the street, his feet hitting the wet pavement, reflecting the neon lights. His heart was pounding, adrenaline pumping through his body. He knew this enemy was no pushover. Mysterio had faced opponents who were physically superior to him, and he had survived because of his wits. He thinks he can defeat me with cheap magic tricks? Scarecrow wondered as he readied his second tank. Mysterio, from his hiding place in a tall tower, controlled his robotic systems. He had created perfect replicas, not only in appearance but also in strength. A Wolverine-like robot lunged from the shadows, adamantium claws flashing. Scarecrow spun around, spraying fear gas into the air. The robot stopped, but then continued forward, fearless, a lifeless machine programmed by Mysterio. The tension rose as Scarecrow realized his enemy was not as dependent on the hallucinogenic gas as he thought. Mysterio uses the gas as a tool, combining it with robots and special effects to create chaos. He jumps away from the robot's slash, rolling into an alley. There, another illusion appears, the image of his parents, who abandoned him as a child, now laughing at his fear. Scarecrow screams, his hands shaking. But he is a master of fear. He turns that pain into power, spraying the gas at the illusion. It dissolves, revealing a hovering drone. Mysterio laughs loudly from afar. "You only know fear, but I create a new world." Scarecrow runs through the crowded streets, where people are panicking because of sudden illusions. A building collapses in the illusion, causing people to scream. He knows this is a trick of Mysterio, who is playing with the minds of the entire city to distract him. Mysterio, with his background as a stuntman, jumps from rooftop to rooftop with ease. He is not a muscular fighter, but his skills help him avoid them easily. He activates another robot, a Cyclops clone that shoots lasers from its eyes, forcing Scarecrow to hide behind a trash can. Emotions surge through Scarecrow. He remembers his past, the failed experiments that turned him into a monster. "I will scare him to death," he growls, spraying toxic gas into the air. The gas spreads, temporarily stopping the Cyclops robot. But Mysterio predicted it, activating the robot's air filtration system. The drama escalates when Mysterio appears in person, standing on an abandoned truck. "You think your gas is the only one? I have a more powerful hallucinogenic gas, and I don't need it to win." He sprays his gas, turning the space around him into an illusionary maze. Scarecrow is lost, finding himself in the middle of a field of burning hay, his childhood memories flooding back. The two entities finally clashed in an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Gotham. The air was heavy, the smell of gas mixed with the sound of metal clashing. Scarecrow stood to one side, his mask obscuring his expression, but his eyes flashed with madness. Mysterio was on the other, his visor reflecting the dim light, his body ready for stunts. "Who are you to challenge me?" Scarecrow asked, his voice shrill. Mysterio laughed. "I am a master of illusion, who has defeated heroes stronger than you. Spider-Man with spider powers, and you are just a madman with gas." The fight broke out. Scarecrow lunged forward, spraying fear gas directly into Mysterio's face. He coughed, but then laughed. He had put on a gas mask. He countered with illusion gas, which made Scarecrow see hundreds of versions of himself, each laughing at him. Tensions peak when the X-Men robots appear. Storm summons a virtual storm. Jean Grey uses simulated telekinesis. Scarecrow fights fiercely, using a scythe to cut one robot's wires. But Mysterio is smarter. He uses special effects to create real fire, forcing Scarecrow to retreat. Scarecrow felt tired, his poison gas running low. He remembered his victims before, how they knelt before fear. But Mysterio was different. He didn't fear. He created fear. "You cannot win, because I control reality," Mysterio shouted, activating the last robot, a Magneto clone that controlled metal. Metal flew around him, attacking Scarecrow. He dodged, his heart pounding. Emotions were running high. His own fear was coming back to bite him. He used up the last of his gas, creating a toxic cloud that spread throughout the warehouse. Mysterio backed away, his visor fogging with the poison, but he quickly activated the ventilation system on his armor. He didn't panic. Instead, he used the moment to release a simulated plasma ball, looking like a bomb about to explode. Scarecrow jumped away, his body hitting the metal crates, the metallic clang echoing like mocking laughter from the past. He stood up, breathing heavily, sweat mixing with the dirt on his mask. "You're nothing more than a wandering magician," Scarecrow snarled, charging with his sharp scythe. Mysterio dodged deftly, his stuntman skills turning him into a ghost among the concrete pillars. He countered with a blast of hallucinogenic gas, spraying it directly into the air around Scarecrow. Immediately, his world distorted. The warehouse walls writhed like living flesh, and from the darkness, ghosts of memories rushed back. Patients who had begged him for forgiveness, scientists who had mocked his theories about fear. Scarecrow staggered, the scythe nearly falling from his hand. His heart was racing, not from pure fear, but from a mix of anger and confusion. He was the master of fear, but now it was the fear that was being turned back on him, amplified by Mysterio into vivid images. "This isn't real, it isn't," he muttered, trying to focus. But Mysterio didn't give him the chance. He commanded a replica of Rogue to charge forward, her hand touching Scarecrow, absorbing the simulated life force through electromagnetic technology. He felt fatigue spreading, his muscles temporarily paralyzed. The fight became more chaotic when Scarecrow responded by ripping off his cloak, revealing spare airbags hidden beneath the tattered fabric. He threw them onto the floor, creating a small explosion of toxic gas, sending Rogue back with smoke billowing from its circuitry. Mysterio watched from afar, calculating every move. He knew Scarecrow was strong in the mind, but he, with his genius mind, had programmed the robot not only to copy strength, but also to predict human behavior. Another Gambit-like robot threw explosive cards at him. The explosions literally shook the warehouse, sending debris flying everywhere, and Scarecrow had to roll out of the way, scraping his flesh. The tension was so high that the air seemed thick. Scarecrow felt his own breathing heavy, each heartbeat a reminder of human fragility. He lunged at Mysterio again, closer this time. The scythe slashed through the air, severing a cable that held his visor. Mysterio fell back, looking genuinely surprised for the first time. But he quickly regained his composure, activating an illusionary force field that made Scarecrow feel like he was falling hundreds of feet. He screamed, his arms and legs flailing, and Mysterio took the opportunity to punch him in the chest, the force of the blow enhanced by the mechanical device. Scarecrow fell to the floor, blood seeping from the corner of his mouth under his mask. He looked up, eyes glaring with hatred. "You will pay." But Mysterio just shook his head, his voice echoing through the speakers. "Pay? I've paid enough. In Hollywood movies where everything is an illusion. As for you, you live in real fear, and I will make it a joke." He stepped forward, ready to strike the finishing blow, but Scarecrow, with the last of his strength, let out a blast of air directly into his face. Mysterio panicked again, backed away, and the chapter ended with Scarecrow's high-pitched laughter, mixed with the screech of the robot rebooting. The darkness of the warehouse seemed to swallow everything, leaving only the panting of the two opposing entities. Scarecrow lay there, his body aching, but his mind as sharp as a scythe. He knew Mysterio was no man to be defeated by a simple gas blast. He had fought superhuman foes, like Spider-Man, with senses that could detect illusions. But here, in this confined space, fear could be a real advantage. Mysterio wiped the gas off his visor, his filtration system working perfectly. He smiled, not a triumphant smile, but the smile of an artist enjoying his own play. "You think your gas can reach me? I've created illusions that have caused panic in New York City. You're just a failed psychologist wandering the alleys of Gotham." He raised his hand, and tiny drones swooped down from the ceiling like bees, each carrying a dose of pure hallucinogenic gas. Scarecrow rolled away, but one of them touched his shoulder, injecting a small dose. Instantly, his world changed. The warehouse walls transformed into the old hospital corridors where he had been locked up as a child. The cries of children echoed, and the image of his mother appeared, her face twisted in rage, whip in hand. "You are worthless, Jonathan. You will always be afraid." The voice pierced his heart, bringing him to his knees, clutching his head. Emotions surged like an internal storm. Scarecrow had not always been a monster. He had been a bright boy, a social outcast for his strange ideas about fear. Now Mysterio was exploiting those wounds, turning them into weapons. He gritted his teeth, trying to distinguish between reality and fantasy. "This is your trick. It's not real." He stood up, spraying fear gas into the air, hoping it would spread and affect the drones. Sure enough, several of the drones fell, their circuits going haywire from the corrosive chemicals. But Mysterio had predicted it. He activated the robot replica of Professor X, not to actually read minds, but to emit sound waves that would disrupt the mind. Scarecrow felt his head spin, memories dug up, failed experiments, victims who died from toxic gas overdoses, and the image of Batman, his greatest enemy, always one step ahead of him. "You're alone, Jonathan. No one truly fears you. They only pity you." Mysterio's voice echoed from the robot, merging with the illusion. He charged at the robot, the scythe slicing its head off, sparks flying. But behind it, Mysterio was waiting. Holding an electric baton disguised as a movie prop, he jabbed Scarecrow in the side. An electricity coursed through his body, sending him tumbling to the ground. The pain was excruciating, but it awakened something deep within him, pure madness. Scarecrow laughed loudly, his laugh echoing like a crow's call in the night. "You don't understand. Fear is power. It keeps me alive." He threw the last canister, creating a thick cloud of poison that enveloped the entire warehouse. Mysterio coughed despite his mask, his vision obscured. He activated the lasers on his visor, cutting through the clouds, but Scarecrow had already disappeared into the darkness. The tension reached a breaking point when he reappeared from behind, his scythe aimed straight at his back. Mysterio spun just in time, blocking with his taser. The two weapons collided, sparks flying, and the air vibrated with the sound of metal. Scarecrow sensed his strength not from muscle, but from cunning, the tenacity of a man who had survived many battles. They wrestled, their bodies entwined in a deadly dance. Mysterio whispered in his ear, "I once created clones of the X-Men, men with godlike powers. You think you can resist that?" He pressed a button on his taser, releasing a stronger shockwave, causing Scarecrow to loosen his grip. He fell, his vision blurring, but in that moment he fired a blast of gas directly into the gap in Mysterio's visor. He staggered, his own vision spinning backwards, Spider-Man laughing, the robot clones shattering. The warehouse now resembled a battlefield, with broken robot pieces scattered everywhere, smoke rising from broken equipment. The dim light from the hanging bulbs cast long shadows, like monster fingers reaching out. Scarecrow pushed himself up, his body shaking with exhaustion, but the eyes under his mask still burned with hatred. He knew this was the moment. If Mysterio survived this gas, he would lose. Mysterio fell to one knee, his visor cracked on one side, revealing a pale face with a crooked smile. He coughed up blood, but his genius mind was still working. "You're pretty good, Scarecrow, but I've beaten Spider-Man, who can cling to walls and sense everything. You're just a puppet of fear." He pressed the emergency button on his wrist, and from the ceiling, a giant robot descended, a perfect replica of Juggernaut, with unstoppable destructive power. The robot charged like a living tank, punching the floor, creating a wide crack. Scarecrow jumped away, but the shock sent him tumbling, his heart pounding, adrenaline mixed with genuine fear, the first time he felt helpless. "No, it can't be," he muttered, remembering his defeats against Batman, the times he was defeated by Iron Will. But he wouldn't give up. He was Scarecrow, the one who turned fear into a weapon. With the last of his strength, he circled the robot, spraying fear gas into the joints. The gas corroded the shell, slowing Juggernaut, but not stopping him. Mysterio laughed loudly from his hiding place. "It's not afraid. It's a machine, programmed by me to crush you." He activated another illusion. The entire warehouse transformed into an ancient Roman arena, with the specters of X-Men and Avengers cheering for Scarecrow's downfall. He charged into the illusion, his scythe slashing wildly, but each slash cut through thin air. Emotions were so high that tears rolled down from under his mask. Not tears, but suppressed rage. "I'll show you. My fear is stronger than any illusion," Scarecrow screamed, throwing himself at the Juggernaut robot's legs. He stabbed the scythe into the joint, pulled hard, and a small explosion occurred as his spare gas tank activated inside. The robot roared, collapsing, crushing part of the floor. Mysterio rushed out from his hiding place, truly angry for the first time. "You dare destroy my masterpiece." He pulled out a plasma gun, firing repeatedly. Scarecrow dodged, his body moving with surprising dexterity, thanks to his experience running through Gotham alleys. A bullet grazed his shoulder, burning, but he reached Mysterio. They wrestled bare-knuckled, fists clashing flesh. Mysterio, skilled at stunts, landed precise kicks, but Scarecrow was physically stronger, punching him hard in the gut. Mysterio coughed air, but he gritted his teeth, kneeing him away. "I don't need robots anymore. I'll finish you with my own mind." He sprayed a final dose of hallucinogenic gas, causing Scarecrow to see himself sinking into the mud, hands from his past pulling him down. He struggled, but reality mixed with illusion slowed him down. Mysterio took the opportunity, punching the mask hard, cracking it. Scarecrow's distorted face was revealed, and he saw not a monster but a broken man. "You are just a pathetic one," Mysterio whispered, but in that moment, Scarecrow used his fingers to scratch, tearing off his armor. The climax exploded as they both fell, exhausted. The warehouse shook from a small explosion from the remaining robot, and smoke filled the air. Scarecrow whispered, "End it, but you will remember me in your nightmares." Mysterio, with a little strength, pressed the button to activate the last force field, pushing him away. The smoke cleared, revealing two entities lying motionless in the rubble. Gotham outside was still dark. Ambulance sirens echoed in the distance. But in this warehouse, time seemed to stop. Scarecrow struggled to his feet, his hands shaking as he touched the broken piece of his mask. The physical pain now mingled with the deeper emotional pain he had lost, not because of strength, but because Mysterio had reached his core, turning fear into a joke. Mysterio rose slowly, his body covered in wounds, but the eyes behind his visor flashed with victory. He stepped forward, his voice calm but commanding. "You fought well, Jonathan Crane. You remind me of my days in Hollywood, where everything was staged. But here, I am the director, and the show is over." He raised the plasma gun, aiming straight at Scarecrow's chest. He looked up, no pleading, only bitter acceptance. "You won, but fear will follow you forever. Every sleep, every darkness, I will be there." His voice was weak, but threatening. Mysterio hesitated for a moment, not out of fear, but out of a fleeting respect for a worthy opponent. Then he pulled the trigger, and a bolt of green energy shot out. Not killing, but paralyzing. Scarecrow collapsed, his consciousness fading into darkness.